So I've recently done a couple of videos in regards to how to clean your cast iron or carbon steel skillets. But for some reason, I still get a lot of questions on how I personally clean my skillets. And if you haven't watched the videos already, I'll link them up here, but I've made several. How to clean cast iron and carbon steel, and of course stainless steel. Now, I think a lot of you are having a hard time believing that I actually do use modern day dish soap like Dawn to clean my cast iron and carbon steel. And a lot of you are having a hard time believing that it's never really that big of a deal. So I just got done making some dinner and I figured my pans are pretty dirty. Let me go ahead and clean them in real time so you guys can see for yourself. So let's go inside and I'll show you guys how I clean my skillets. Okay, let's start off with my cast iron skillet that I just got done using. And honestly, for both my cast iron and carbon steel pans, they really don't make a mess. It's more common with my stainless steel, but even that's rare. So I know what you're thinking, that doesn't look dirty at all. Don't worry, later on in the video, I have a carbon steel pan that I purposely made a mess with, and I'll show you how I take care of that pan. But for right now, let's talk about this cast iron skillet, and I'm going to show you how I clean it using soap. I know that just gave a lot of you guys anxiety out there. Don't worry, it's not going to hurt the seasoning. I do this every single time with both my cast iron and my carbon steel. And as you can see here, scrubbing it with a plastic brush took care of 90% of the issue, but just for good measure, I'm going to use a sponge and more soap. See, the myth behind soap actually originated from over a century ago when soap at that time had lye and vinegar in it, but modern day dish soap does not. So if you're using something like Dawn or insert your favorite modern day brand, you should be good to go. When in doubt, check the back of the label and make sure there's no lye or vinegar. And as you can see here, I have a nice clean cast iron skillet that's fully intact. Now there's always one more step that I do with my cast iron and carbon steel skillets. I always fully dry them by putting them back on the stovetop and evaporating all of the moisture. And if you're going to store them for a long duration of time, it's not a bad idea to add a drop or two of oil and lightly spread them inside of the pan for storage. Okay, so I promised you a really sticky skillet, so here's my carbon steel pan. Now, full disclaimer, my carbon steel skillets almost never stick, especially my Dubai Mineral B, so I purposely burnt some eggs on there to show you what a sticky mess looks like and how to deal with it. I also want to be fair by saying that if I boiled some hot water in here, it would probably clean the pan, but I want to show you different methods. And yes, we're going to start off with some soap and my favorite plastic brush. And to prove to you guys that I'm not cheating and there's actually a sticky mess, you can see here that the brush is not doing a very good job. It's doing a good job on the walls, but the flat surface remains to be a big mess. There's a lot of stuck on eggs here. So what can we do in this situation? Well, there's a lot of different options and the solution is actually quite simple. You can use a plastic scraper to scrape off the majority of the eggs that are on the flat surface. Again, if you haven't already, go check out my video. I go over all of the options that are available to you, but for right now, the plastic scraper is actually doing a fantastic job, and you can see that the seasoning is unharmed, it's still intact, and it looks great. So the plastic scraper and brush didn't get everything out. So what do you do in this situation when you have some really stubborn spots that are just not getting cleaned? Well, a really effective and simple situation is to add some kosher salt, which will act as an abrasive, and it's a great combination with the plastic brush. And once again, just to prove my point that modern day dish soap is completely harmless on cast iron and carbon steel skillets, I'm going to be using a sponge with plenty of Dawn dish soap on one of my favorite carbon steel skillets. So just to add a bit more fun in this video, here's some B-roll of me washing my favorite carbon steel pan with Dawn dish soap. And once again, the seasoning on the carbon steel skillet is unharmed, it's unaffected by the dish soap, and I've been doing this for 10 years. I've never had seasoning strip. As long as you have a good foundation, you're good to go. But what you need to always do is put the pan back on the burner and completely evaporate all of the moisture to reduce rust. I always do that with my cast iron and carbon steel skillets, no matter how good the seasoning looks. And it's extremely rare to ever have a carbon steel or cast iron skillet actually give you a hard time. That's it for me, guys. I hope you found this video informative. I'll catch you on the next one.